I work for NASA's Mars colony, and we have awoken something horrifying. I wasn't sure if I wanted this job, being far from Earth to set up a colony on Mars and never able to see my family again for the greater good of humanity. But this was a big step for our species, and somebody has to start things. I was hired as a biologist, but also worked as an engineer. Giant machinery was seen outside digging into the Martian planet. We thought we had stumbled across ancient remains of a lost civilization when excavating for minerals. I stood there, watching the excavation when my friend John walked up next to me. Pretty big project we got going on, huh? Yeah. What gives? No clue. Something about some relic they found. Got the synagogue guys going nuts. For clarity's sake, John was my good friend, but also one of the security guards. As for the Martian religious folks, they are referred to as the Synagogue of El, referred to a group of individuals who began to spread a new religion that the ancient Martians were our creators, and that they colonized Earth thousands of years ago. They believe that their gods left behind something on Mars to jumpstart human evolution, and that we have finally found it. Just then, someone ran into the room calling us. You guys better get your suits on. We need some extra help out there. Lucky us, chuckled John. I was excited. Curiosity washed over me as I wanted to get a good look at some ancient alien relic. Finally, see proof that we aren't alone. I donned my spacesuit and began to make my way to the site. Security personnel kept the synagogue folks at bay. They demanded to see it, that their religious rights were being infringed. Once we were let in, I saw what appeared to be a large, stone-like structure molded into the ground. It had some mark glowing in an alien language, and I didn't understand it. Oddly, the closer I got to the structure, the more uneasy I felt. One guy got too close to touch the structure, and a few seconds later he began to put his hands over his head, saying he felt some sort of pain in his brain. Medics quickly arrived and escorted him out. After repairing one of the machines, I too made my way back inside, being sure to keep my distance from the structure. Once back inside, I saw the man being wheeled into the med bay. Poor guy. The stress of deep space must have gotten the best of him. After all, we don't see much out here, and finding this object could have just been an information overload. Then I heard the intercom speak. Security to the mess hall. I repeat, security to the mess hall. John spoke. Let's go see some action, man, come on. I saw two people getting into an argument, a man and a woman. And the man was upset that the woman called his faith bullshit History Channel mumbo-jumbo. Once security calmed down the dispute, someone walked up onto a table and began to speak. It was one of the synagogue priests. "My fellow brothers and sisters, rejoice, as we have found God. Now is not the time for anger, as I too am eager to see this relic. However, we must be patient." One of the people in the crowd yelled out, "Why do we have to wait for all the workers to get to see it? What about our rights?" The crowd cheered him on and began to respond to their own concerns. The priest replied, Now, I understand your frustration, but I have spoken to those in charge and they assured us once the relic is properly cleared, we will be granted access to visit what our gods have left behind. We must respect their wishes as they have respected ours." John spoke to me. What a nut job, right? He then winked at me and shouted to the pastor, "Who's to say what you know is even true? Sure, it's weird and could be some ancient relic that's alien, but in case you haven't noticed, we already conquered heaven, and guess what? God wasn't home." "Your God, perhaps," responded the priest. "Our God is very much in our presence." Later on that night, we got a call that there was an assault in the medbay. We ran over, and what we saw was the same guy who touched the relic, holding the doctor in his arm with a knife over his throat. We both urged him to calm down, but he just said, "Those pills don't work for shit. I can't sleep. He said they would help me, but they don't. I just keep seeing these things in my head and I can't get them the fuck out." "Hey man, easy. Everyone is frustrated, but this isn't going to help," said John. The man yelled, "No, fuck this!" John took a shot to the man's shoulder, and we managed to restrain him and secure the doctor. After the incident, John and I talked for a bit. "Have you noticed something odd lately?" I asked. "What, besides the weird alien rock?" "Not that. Well, kind of. I mean, the people who got close to it have been acting strange lately. The medbay incident, and some of the construction guys complaining of headaches. Deep space, man. It'll drive you crazy sometimes. Just a bunch of guys overworked nothing to really worry about. Try to take it easy tonight," John said, trying to smooth things over. I agreed, and we both headed back to our rooms. That night, though, it just felt strange. I read one of my emails, and apparently, one of them said that the relic would be removed soon after the short Synagogue of El visit. The next couple of days passed, and I had a visit with a psychiatrist. I told him about my concern about the people who got close to this relic. He said he had noticed an increase in anxiety and depression, insomnia, and psychotic episodes since the relic was uncovered. However, it was not a priority. I was given pills for insomnia in case I couldn't sleep. Unfortunately, I had to be somewhat close to this relic, since I had to make sure the machines were of working order before the day started. As I worked, I noticed a group of those synagogue people. I thought their visit was over. I spoke to one of the crew and he said that they were allowed to observe, but from a distance. They all had some glossy look over their eyes, like they were in a sort of trance. Back inside, I was typing some emails when I heard a knock on my door. "Come in." John walked in and told me, "Did you hear about this shit?" "What now?" I sighed, spinning around in my chair. "They plan to remove this relic from the planet." "Today?" "Yeah." "Wait, you know?" "Well, I got an email about it." "Yeah, man. I got called twice today. Had to arrest 4 people this afternoon for assault, all claiming that we have to get off the planet and to leave the relic alone. Never thought I'd see that. I thought these people wanted this thing removed for their praying or whatever." Suddenly, I heard the emergency alarm for security. "Look, I know it was your day off, but you have security experience and we could use the extra help if you don't mind. I'll say you were just helping me," John said. I agreed and suited up, following John. We heard a bunch of gunshots. Then, we rushed into the mess hall and saw bodies. A bunch of them. The synagogue people had committed mass suicide. John's partner said that they were preaching before they all said that they heard God's message by their last visit. They were prepping to meet God when suddenly they all killed themselves. A few hours later, we got called to assist the psychiatrist who was being assaulted. We sedated the patient and asked the psychiatrist about what happened. He was frantic, speaking about death and that death was the only way to salvation. Then, he just pounced on me. "This isn't the first time I have seen this behavior since we found that relic," said the psychiatrist. "Do you think the relic is making people go crazy?" I asked. "I don't know, but I'm afraid the longer we stay here, the worse this is going to get." After that, I decided to speak with the colony manager about my concerns about this relic and the effect it was taking on the colony members. But all I got in response was that it was out of his jurisdiction and that NASA has demanded the collection of the relic for further study back on Earth. Then he told me sternly to leave his office. I made the decision to try to communicate with Earth via satellite. Yes, we have technology that can send messages to Earth in about 10 minutes versus days. But I couldn't get through. It was just static. I had a bad feeling that this was somehow the calm before the storm. I was at my computer that evening when I heard a knock on my door. I answered it, and it was John. "Let me guess. More assaults?" I asked. "No, dude. Check this out." He showed me a picture of some weird substance growing outside of the building. I also found it on one of the walls close to the morgue. "That's fucking weird." "Yeah, almost as weird as a surge of psychosis hitting the colony." "John, we have escape pods, right?" I asked. Yeah, why?" "You should pack your things. I know this sounds like me jumping to conclusions, but the psychosis, and now this weird shit growing around, If there's a situation where we all have to evacuate, we need to be the first ones out of here. Dude, I see what you're saying, but we can't just leave. We would be in deep shit. We're already in deep shit. Look, if things get out of hand, I want you to message my radio, and we will meet at the escape pod north, okay? John agreed and told me to be safe. The next day, I was spending time off looking into what these strange symbols meant. When I told my boss I was working on emails and computer work, I was really researching. The relic resembled a DNA-like structure, and after looking at a sample of the weird substance growing, I think I figured it out. That's when I radioed John to tell him my discovery. When he came into my room, I began to explain it when his radio went off. Relic is getting removed in 5 minutes. Oh shit, I forgot that was today, said John. I got chills, but after shaking them off, I began to tell John about my discovery. The relic wasn't meant to be worshipped. It was a warning, and we shouldn't remove it. It gave off electromagnetic waves to keep anyone close from touching it, which explained the psychosis and the brain pains. As for the weird substance, that was dead tissue. Wherever this tissue originated from, it was mutated at the cellular level and is spreading. Though how it spreads, I am not sure. As I was explaining this, the ground shook. The relic was being removed, and this was followed by a power outage. We moved towards the intercoms to try to get the message out that we lost power. John and I made our way to the generator to try to reboot the thing. After a few minutes, I finally got the generator working again. The power came back on, and we went back to the security room to check the cams. John tried to radio his partners, but no reply, which was weird, since they should be in the security room. Once we got in, we saw mangled bodies, like someone sliced these people with a machete. That substance was also growing on the walls. John began to work the intercom to radio this to his colleagues when he heard security in South Section. Somebody help us, we're being attacked. It's killing us. What is? John shouted. Checking the camera, the other security guard looking around frantically then said, "Oh my god, oh my god," and his head got sliced clean off by some weird creature. It was tall, its lower jaw removed, with the top row of its mouth showing sharp fangs, and instead of arms, it had sharp, blade-like limbs. Then, the camera feed cut off. John tried to get a hold of others, and then we saw movement in the corner of the room. Some bat-like creature was stabbing tentacles into the head and spinal cord of a body, and the body began to move frantically, mutating before our very eyes. What the fuck? John said. I told John we had to leave now, and we ran into the hall. As we made our way to the escape pods, he asked me, "What the fuck is happening?" And I replied, "I figured it out. That substance we had been seeing around the colony, It's a type of DNA that mutates genes at a cellular level, like a virus. But it spreads through only necrotic flesh, mutating dead bodies like the one in the morgue. Okay, so what the hell killed the security personnel in the first place? No idea, but it doesn't matter. We have to get out of here before anyone packs the escape pods. As we entered the room, we realized we were too late. Everybody else was trying to do the same. That's when all hell broke loose. That's when those things began to attack everyone. One swung its blade at John, barely missing him and shattering the control panel to the closest escape pod. "Fuck, we need to get the fuck out of here," John said as he stood back up after falling over. We ran back, and I had no idea where John was taking me, but that's when I realized it. There was one area where we could get a message out to Earth. The main satellite room. When we opened the door, our hopes dropped. The substance was growing all over the place, which explains why I couldn't get a hold of the satellite orbiting Mars that transmits messages back to Earth. "Do you think you can fix it?" John asked. "No. There's nothing we can do. There's no way I can clear through all of this," I replied, defeated. That's when we heard a grotesque noise, and it was one of the creatures. It jumped down towards us, and we rushed for the exit. Just as I got in, John was right behind me, and I saw his chest get pierced through. He coughed up blood, looked me in the eyes, and gave me a slight smile, before kicking himself back out the door, pressing the door lock, and I watched it close, locking me in. "John, no!" I yelled. And now here we are. I'm alive thanks to John. And I'm typing this on one of the computers here, trying to send this message out back to Earth. Hopefully, by some miracle, this gets out there. I haven't seen or heard from anyone for 12 hours. Take it from me. Mars is not the place for humanity. And you need to stay the fuck away from here at all costs. Hello all. This is Magnetar. Thank you all for your support. As of this recording on April 5th, 500 of you have taken the pledge and joined me here in the void. You are no longer Astrophobes. You are true Voidwalkers. And we are 500 strong, but our strength is in numbers. Please, share this channel and these stories with your friends, your family, your social media accounts. And if you haven't joined us already, please subscribe. But remember, Astrophobes, be warned.